What's cooking, cousin?
Not a lot of cooking over here, bro, but not actual literal cooking. It's other stuff cooking. It's not real cooking. What are you cooking? Cooking anything?
You know me, brother. I'm just out here living on a fucking dream. We're good to go.
Nice. It's nothing worse than a sore eye, like a behind the eye type of soreness.
I don't think I've ever had that, brother.
Yeah, it's sore.
Isn't that what happens when you rub your eye with an asshole?
Maybe. But in this case, it just feels like I've been punched in the back of the eye.
Are you trying to tell me that there's domestic violence and it's fucking you up, but she's sitting right beside you so you can't say anything? Is that code, brother? It's like that dude that was captured by the Viet Cong who was Morse coding by blinking torture. It's the most horrific fucking little video. Have you ever seen it?
But I've seen the similar claims from like the Britney Spears videos. Oh, she's twirling 3 additional times. That must mean she's in trouble.
Yeah.
3 more times than usual.
It's this dude, he's sitting down, he's like, oh no, they're treating me really well. It's really nice here. And he's just blinking torture over and over. And you're like, bro, it's fucking horrific. You training today?
No, I trained yesterday, and that's right. I saw you, and I got in trouble yesterday. So
I figured. What time did you come?
I got home at 7:00.
Oh, that's not too bad because you were there for 45 minutes and you were just putting your knee sleeves on as I left. Torture.
Have to give them context, like as to why.
Oh no, I mean the context is pretty simple. I have a family, is the context, yeah. And responsibilities. I did do 755 total for reps.
What's your PB?
My PB for reps?
I know, in comp.
Oh, 800.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But it's still good.
Yeah, that's insane.
Close. Happy with that. It's 305 deadlift, 195 bench, and 255 squats. So still a little bit lighter on the squats at the moment. I'm just really struggling with my squats. It's just the power is not there at the moment.
It's because you're skinnier.
Yeah,
it's legitimately it because you don't have a belly to support you at the bottom.
Totally, man.
That's why all the big dudes have got really good squats because they're like it's like a hack squat for them. They can't move forward, back, or side to side because they're just like
it's like knee sleeves but for your stomach.
So knee sleeves for your body.
Yeah.
So if we want to get to a 400 kilo squat, if that's the goal for me and you, all you have to do is get to 150 kilos.
Yeah.
Maybe you might have to get a bit heavier because you're taller than me. If you push 170, if I get to 150, we'll just sit down and stand up. But I'm here, the man, the myth, the fucking legend. We're here. We're going to kick a mule. We're going to be talking about churn rates, which is absolutely fabulous. It's everyone's favorite subject, and I quite like talking about it. So listen, if you own a gym and you've got people leaving every month, then you want to reduce it, fucking listen to this. All right.
Awesome. What do you know about churn?
I know that for most gyms, on average, the average gym owner says they've got really low churn, and then you actually look at how many people are leaving a month, and it's actually about 10%. 10% seems to be about standard. Everyone says that we only have 1 or 2 people leaving every month. Yeah. And then you ask them, okay, how many people left last month? And they say, last month was a bad month. And they say, okay, how many people left that month? 10. And then you look into their CRM, look into their numbers, whatever, and it was actually 15. And they're like, I just forgot about those people. And so it turns out to be typically industry average seems to be about a 10% churn rate. So if you've got 100 members, you're losing 10 every month. So that means you need to replace your entire membership base every year. Churn is a silent killer.
Yeah. I think the question becomes what makes members stay. I think a good question when it comes to retention is why should they stay at our facility? And so when looking at churn, I can break it down into 2 things. There's the intangibles, there's the tangibles. First is making your studio a third place. So Dylan, you've got at least 3 places that you go to frequently. Number 1 is your house. Number 2 is also your house because that's where you work.
Yep.
And then number 3 is the gym. Do you go anywhere else?
No, not really.
There are 3 meaningful places where people go. Anything else is like on the outskirts of their hobbies. It's something that they frequent, but it's not necessarily extremely valuable. I think outside of that, people get a little bit stressed. Like even with us, man, like we have home, work, which like you is the same thing. And then we have the gym, and Anna's got her jiu-jitsu gym. I've got the powerlifting gym. Those are the 3 places that we frequent. Now, the problem is that your studio often gets dropped to 4th place.
Yeah, because people have church, or people have fucking going to a pub or a restaurant or like a cafe, or I don't know, or a friend's house or something.
Totally. And because it gets dropped to fourth place, it gets relegated to a level of I can ditch that thing if something else comes up, because it's not essential. The first three are essential.
Yep.
And if your studio is not a third place, then you run the risk of having people leave often. And so the question becomes, what creates a third place? And really that comes into the three things that I got here. Number one is making them known. And if your gym is transactional in that it just provides sessions, then it's very easy to miss being known. This is where it's hard, is you've got to make someone feel known from a staff level. Like your staff have to be so engaged with your members that they know the members. They call them by name. They understand the conversations, that they've got unique dialogue that they're having with everybody. The second thing is that they've got to be feel known by the other members, which means you have to create space for social events and whatnot. What you said earlier about having a consult on the front and changing the agreement as to why they come in is the other. They have to have a change in the value proposition of where exercise fits.
Yep.
So they need to feel connected to the vision. Like you and I power lift, but there's like you think about it, we just go and lift heavy weights. But it's so much more than just lifting heavy weights. There's a vision, there's a set of values that are aligned to that.
There's goals.
And there's goals, exactly. So we've got to be able to extrapolate the value equation, change the value equation, and then have kind of buy into that. And the fourth thing here is that you've also got to encourage the natural organic social structures that occur. So you've got integrators, you've got people who are more connectors, you've got people who are leaders, you've got people who are the encouragers, and everyone kind of plays their role. But if you stay transactional and you stay that fourth place, people just come in and out. I know that when we were running boot camps, each of our trainers had a group. And then inside of that group, we made sure that there was a leader, that there was an integrator, and that they had support inside of those roles. And then what we would find is that they would create accountability partnerships. They would create like this natural community around them. And then you would have 5 micro communities inside of the larger community. And that accountability was external from us, but it was also internal from them. And so that's really the kind of the intangibles. The next part then is the tangible stuff when it comes to churn and retention. There are actions that you can do on cadence at set milestones inside of the prospect's journey. It will help you create more sticking power inside of the studio. So the first is what you spoke about, which is onboarding. The way that somebody starts typically is the way that it defines the way that they end. The second is their weekly adherence. And then the third is the way that they leave. These are the 3 critical pieces to understand when you're looking at lowering churn: is improve your onboarding sequence, improve your weekly adherence communications, and then improve the way that people leave the business. So let's unpack those. The first is your onboarding. We'll start with the sales process, which is selling to their goal. We talk about changing the value proposition. A lot of the times we're selling fitness and health and sessions, which in and of themselves are extremely low value and highly commoditized because so many other people sell the same thing.
Yep.
And so when we are trying to create sticking power on sessions, you have to understand that's a very limited proposition. There's not a lot of strength in that proposition. And so we have to sell to the people's goals.
It's about being a goal-orientated facility. We get people to their goal. And so we just need to ask a person, what do you want to achieve? Most people are looking to get down 10 kilos or 20 pounds or whatever. Awesome. When was the last time you were 10 kilos lighter? What were you able to do when you're 10 kilos lighter? What did you like about yourself when you're 10 kilos lighter? If you were to draw yourself a perfect version of you and have that person stand in front of you, what would they look like? Oh, big shoulders, big abs, fucking man. Okay, cool. What would they feel like? Oh, confident and brave and strong and okay. Cool. What would other people say about them? Oh, no, they're just the fucking man. Okay, cool. What's the difference between them? What's the difference between you? They're big and strong. I'm not. They're confident and happy. I'm not. They're a leader and they're the man of the household. I'm not. Okay, cool. So that's what we're trying to achieve. So by you losing this 10 kilos or gaining a little bit of muscle or getting a gene size down or whatever your goal is, that's what you achieve. And that's what the goal is. So as soon as you've established that as the goal, you can then prescribe a solution and sell to that goal. So
Mm.
based on where you're currently at, and based on where you're looking to go, I'd say you want to lose £1 a week. It's going to take you 20 weeks to reach your goal. Then you ask them 3 real simple questions. At the end of that 20 weeks, once you've reached your goal, would you like to set a new goal and smash that? Would you like to maintain where you're currently at? Or would you like to go backwards? Which one of those 3? And they always say the first 2. And you say, based on that, I recommend this membership. And so the agreement no longer is, I just want to lose weight in an unspecified amount of weight. Because how do you know when you reach your goal?
Yeah.
Like, how do you know if this has been a success or not?
Yeah.
I
And
know,
then
like,
you've got to maintain it as well.
yeah.
Which
So like
you and I have just lost 10 kgs each. Okay. So I've been doing this since January. I think you were either around that same time or just after.
But after, yeah.
So we've just lost 10 kgs each, and I have to maintain that. And so if you ask me, how long do I want to maintain that for? Likely for the next, to be honest, probably forever. I don't want to be 120 kgs anymore. But for competition, if I want to compete over the next 6 years, at least for 6 years, and there may be a little bit of give and take, but 6 years. So selling me into a 12-month membership, a 12-month agreement, is 1/6 of where my goal is at. Yeah. For some reason, we get the conversation misconstrued because we're like, oh, I don't want to hold people to long-term agreements. Do you want people to get good results? Because it's one thing to get the result, it's another thing to maintain that result. I've helped people lose crazy amounts of weight, and the amount of people who have maintained that weight is probably very few of them. And that's the problem with the fitness industry. It's like we're good at getting people to the result, but we need to improve in holding people accountable to maintaining their results. That's really the game. And there's very little value in terms of the messaging around getting people to maintain, but that's actually where the value is, because it's about what they lose if they don't maintain it. And if they go back to where they were at the beginning, they only reinstate all the feelings and all the lifestyle patterns and all of the negative emotions and the negative psychological state that they were in prior to getting the outcome. And I don't think that we should undervalue that at all. And yet we do. This is a long-term game.
Yeah.
So we sell them to their goal.
60 years, really.
Yeah. Bro, I don't understand, man. It's like people want to sell a month membership. I'm like, cool, you can lose 5 kgs in a month. Awesome. But you could put it on within 2 weeks. The second thing then is to selling them to their goal. You covered it, is having consultations, data-oriented consultations. Yep. So pulling them into the studio, actually giving them an experience. So they're like, man, these guys are awesome. They care about their members. If this is how they treat me as a new member, imagine how they'll treat me as a long-term member. Give them a really great experience at the beginning. Whether they have a workout or not doesn't really matter. You want to do a full goal orientation, and you want to sit them down and look at data. So get them on a body scan or do a measuring and actually look at the data and go, how do you feel about those numbers? Are you happy? Are you not happy? Where do you want those numbers to be? And start getting them to look at that data and then picking it apart and going, actually, this is where I would want to be. And at this number or this destination, I would start to feel happy with myself. Awesome. Start setting goals and plans and casting vision around that. And they buy into the prospect of joining whatever your solution is and whatever your modality is to get there. They buy into the prospect of having to be a part of that to get to their goal. When you just let someone come into the studio, in effect, sell themselves on an experience that they have, like a 7-day trial, and they have 3 sessions, and then you don't talk to them before and you don't talk to them after, and they sell themselves into that of course they're not going to stay. Yeah. You did nothing to get them in. So you did nothing to get them in. They've sold themselves on whatever ideas that they have planted in their own mind. And then when they want to leave, that's when you want to have a chat with them. So that is not how this game works, man. The next thing in the onboarding is the speed to first result, getting a result very quickly. Now, everyone goes, weight loss it's not about getting there fast. But there's so many other results. It's improving your sleep quality. It's improving your mood. It's improving your hunger. It's improving your energy throughout the day. Those are all results. But if you wrap up the result in a slightly different package and get them to buy into that result first, that's still a good result. And you can say, hey, look, in 7 days, you're going to feel A, B, C, and D. And then you can even say, hey, look, we also want to lose in your first 2 weeks, we want to lose 1 kg. That's 500 grams a week. That's going to be our weight target. But that 1 kg is also going to result in you feeling better, you waking up, not feeling tired, you feeling, you having a better relationship with your family and better dialogue with yourself. You're ultimately going to feel like you're achieving something. Does that sound cool? Add in consultations, data-oriented consultations, and get them to their first result and communicate what that first result will be so that they are aware of what's going to happen, and then they can attribute it to the process of getting to it. So the second phase that's most important is then the weekly adherence. And inside of these, there's really 5 things that we can look at. Monthly check-ins, acknowledgement of milestone achievements. Number 3 is track adherence and attendance. Number 4 is quarterly social events. And then number 5 is training for something. And so let's unpack those 5 things. Monthly check-ins. Right, monthly check-ins is just make sure that every single person on your roster has some form of communication. Different people communicate differently, and so you can't expect your members to reach out to you. Everyone should be spoken to within a 1 month period, and that doesn't just mean like a hello. That should be some form of intentional outreach, just to check in on how they're going, how they're feeling, how was their recovery, what are their goals for the month. Like, you've got to have some form of intentional interaction. This could also be a congratulations after a session. Hey, you did that. Awesome. Hey, your push-ups were really good. Hey, I saw that you were trying really hard in the session and you did awesome. Like, just some form of message to be like, yo, you're cool. You're on the right path. Keep it up. We see you. We know you. Awesome job.
Yep.
So that's the first. The second thing is acknowledgement of milestones.
Yep.
So when people hit an attendance milestone, acknowledge it. When people hit a result, acknowledge it. When people are doing really well, acknowledge it. And map out your milestones so you know what they're doing. If you can map out the milestones, you can actually create a culture around them. And the better you define them, and the more meaningful that they are to the other person, the more sticking power that you'll have. The third is tracking attendance and adherence. The average person should have at least 3 sessions a week. Yep. And I think studios should be able to say, hey, look, our average members should spend X amount of sessions with us in a week. And if they don't, then we're going to reach out to them. But everyone who F45s, body fits, CrossFits, you all have to register for those classes. And so you've got an attendance register, which means your back-end system should be able to track attendance, who came, who did not come. Are you following up with those? So you've got attendance tracking and then you've got adherence tracking. Now, both of those things, if you just implemented that, that's going to increase and improve the result that your clients get. And so if you increase and improve the results that they get, are they going to stay longer? Yes.
Yep.
And what we naturally find is when people stop attending and they stop adhering to the process, they're not going to get a result, which means that they're going to leave. The more disconnected someone gets from the process that they're supposed to adhere to, the more inclined they are to leave. Yep. And so you've got to look at what are those things that create success, what's the process, and what are they adhering to, and what are they attending, and track those things and hit up people when they don't. Super simple. Then the next one is quarterly social events. All right. Now, if you run any sort of challenges, then naturally speaking, you're probably going to have some form of quarterly social event. But that's generally just to recognize the ending of that challenge. What about the women's coffee groups? What about the men's breakfast? What about the additional things that you're doing to cultivate community inside of the studio?
I know you talked a lot about like having the Tough Mudders and stuff was always cool, like a goal-orientated social event.
Yeah.
Those are cool ones, I think, because they double whammy.
Which is why I created a distinction between quarterly events and training for something.
Yeah.
So training for something is exactly that, having mapped out on your calendar external events that align with the modality that you perform. So for us doing boot camps, we had a lot of running. Yep. And because we were always outdoor, it would be in all conditions. And so what we would do then is we would do Tough Mudders. We would do 2 of those a year. Yep. And then we would do the Auckland Marathon. And so we were training for 3 events all year round. and it was awesome. I've got a few really cool memories of taking members out and having quite a big group as well. And then going out, and then afterwards we go out for cool, man. And then you'd go and get a hotel, and it's just awesome. And having those, not just for the social event, but for the idea of making your training meaningful and purposeful for an extended duration of time, can help people to stick. The next is exits. So controlling how people exit. If someone has low attendance, low adherence, personalize your outreach to them. Automation is cool, man, but people know nowadays what is an automated message versus what is a personalized message. A personalized message goes a long way. The next thing is, if you want to personalize it, have some cross-sell that you can increase accountability to. So maybe they need accountability, and maybe that's an additional service that you can provide. Maybe they need one-on-one training. Maybe they need small group private training. Maybe they just need to change the mode that they're, instead of a bigger group, they need small 3-on-1, 5-on-1 type of training, or maybe it's one-to-one training. Maybe it's just external accountability. Maybe it's online accountability or nutrition coaching. Use it as an opportunity to cross-sell them to something that has additional value that can be used. Oftentimes when someone escalates and they want to leave, though, we get scared to confront it because we think that they're going to tell us something terrible about ourselves that we...
Even if they do, you win anyway because you can go fix it.
100%. Exactly. So the first thing is personalize any outreach that comes into low adherence and low attendance. Recognize those as signs that someone's going to be leaving and capitalize on all of those things. Then do a red flag outreach and do a cross-sell to an additional opportunity. The next thing here is increase the barrier to exit. So have a exit process that every single member, they have to follow. They do an exit survey. They can't just email in and then that's it. They can't just email and then they never speak to anybody. They have to go through this process. This process is communicated upfront versus have an exit survey. They go in, what is it exactly? What's the pain, possibility, problem? Ask if those are a reality. What's the cost of leaving? Like, figure out what is their motivation and then ask them the questions that actually got them back into the studio. The second thing is conduct an exit interview. Actually have a phone call or an in-person consult for every person that leaves. I can guarantee you're going to save people just off of that. The third thing is downsell opportunity. So many people that are leaving, right? If you sold them one less session a week and that meant that they would stay, right? And maybe it's just, hey, look, I'm training 2 times a week and that's all I can do right now. Paying $60 a week for that is just a little bit out of my budget. Just sell them into a limited package. Like, have structured downsells that people can come into. Limit the price, limit the commitment, sessions per week, give them an additional service or drop it down to an additional service. Have downsells that people can stick to. Just having these additional ranges and having someone transact with you. Dylan remembers when I was using ClickFunnels, we were using ClickFunnels.
Yep.
And we were moving away. And he was like, if you want to keep everything, you can pause.
$10 a month.
Then it's an extra $10 a month for you to just keep all of your information hosted on there, just so you don't lose anything. Okay, cool. Yep. So we ended up going from canceling to paying them $10 a month just to keep and host all of our information, domain names, websites, landers, funnel pages, all that. And it's, let's do the same thing with our studio. What is it that we can downsell our members to so that they can stick with us, and then we can reactivate them at a later time once we re-engage.